Welcome back to What No One Told You About, in association with Apex Fitness Education. Today's guest is Jack Cardy, co-founder of Live Fit Gym and Revamp Gym, and someone who's spent the last few years building and scaling real-world businesses in the fitness industry. On social media, launching a boutique gym or studio can look fantastic. You've got new branding, big opening days, packed classes, and financial freedom. But behind the scenes, there's pressure, financial risk, and long hours. All things that nobody talks about when you open up your first facility. In this episode, we're diving into the realities of what it's actually like to open your first studio or boutique gym, the mistakes, the stress, and what actually matters. Also, what Jack wishes more coaches understood before they dived in to gym ownership. So, let's meet today's guest, Jack Cardy. Okay, Jack, first question. It's a bit of a meta question really, but who is Jack Cardy and what do your businesses look like today?
God, I thought you were going to mean Facebook question when you said meta question. So who is Jack Cardy? I'll give you the really brief, without boring all your audience here. I was PT myself for a number of years. So timeline 2009 was an apprentice. Cleaning floors, toilets, you name it. Doing about 16 programs a day.
Yep.
Really good fun. 2014, 2012, I got my first job as a PT fitness instructor. Started my PT business in 2014. Become fully booked pretty much overnight, which was really cool. So I got to like 30, 35 individual clients within about on the gym floor. Was doing 12, 14-hour days. I'm sure people here can resonate with that, exactly what that feels like. It gets to the end of the day and you think, God, what a shit service I'm giving right here. So it's and it gets to a point where, as a PT, you think, gosh, I've got a ceiling here. I can only earn this, and that's okay if you're happy with that. I personally, I wanted more, so I started to build revenue arms on that personal training business. So we set up an education business, funny enough, back in the day. We set up a licensing arm. So I did a deal with 4 gyms where I had license to all of their spots. So only PTs
Wow.
could work at those places branded under my brand. And then I'd collect a licensing fee off the PT. I'd pay the rent to the gym. So I'd make a little bit off the top there. So that started to build things nicely. In 2019, I took it to 2019. I was about to lose control of those licensing spots for the biggest UK who did that thing. I think it was Your Personal Training, is it?
Yeah, I know the
Something
one.
like that. Something like that. I don't even know they're around these days, to be honest.
Yeah.
But they were about to take all the spots off me, which was a bit of a damper. So I needed to get out quite quickly. I bought my first gym then in July 2019. Gym locally to me. It was quite run down. It wasn't a difficult turnaround, and we did a ton to that. Did a really good job. We when we took that over, it was about 68 members who had membership past the point of us going in there. Today we sit at about 1.1 thousand,
Wow.
which is really cool. So that's got a full team scaled nicely. In 2023, I decided that I really love fitness studios and I love the boutique fitness side of things, the small group side of things. Me and my brother were coaching people in the small group space how to build their business, how to launch their business successfully at the time, and we were enjoying that. We were doing that for about 4 years at the time, and we were like, "Gosh, we should do this ourselves with our own locations while we're just
Yeah.
teaching people how to make a shit ton of money." So we decided that we were going to do that. We opened Hadley Revamp in 2023. Opened Housestead Revamp in 2024. Um, we consolidated those locations nicely. They're both full, which is great. And yeah, like I said before we jumped on here, it looks like we've got deals for 2 or 3 more this year lined up. So there's a real good chance that by the end of 2026, we're going to have 5 revamp locations, maybe 4. We'll see how things go.
That's amazing. And it's been really interesting to watch your journey. And I think the big question that comes to mind really from from the initial part of the journey anyway, because we can dive more into the details of the current journey later. But before you had your gyms, what did you think gym ownership was going to look like, and how did it differ from the reality?
I was, I never wanted to be one of those who own gyms and permanently working in it.
Yeah.
Right. I actually don't think that is operations is not my zone of genius at all.
Mm,
I can do it. It's just not. It's not my thing. So I felt like I wanted to build business really quickly that I didn't have to be in all the time.
hmm.
And like I could continue to grow things in the background. So I guess normally people think they're going to own a gym and they're going to have to work in it loads, blah blah blah. I never really had that feeling.
Nice.
Um, I did have a feeling it would obviously be hard work. Scaling teams would be the hardest thing. I kind of knew that inherently, and that's definitely turned out to be true.
Hmm.
Um, but from what I thought it was going to look like, I never thought it would cost so much money.
Yeah.
I will say that. Like,
Mm,
Jesus, like when in our big gym, our cost basis per month was around 12K at the start. Like it would cost
wow.
12 grand to run the business, to get to break even every single month. Today that sits at near a 30.
Wow.
So it's insane how quickly the costs have risen
Mm,
in those businesses. Um, but like as long as you obviously your revenue outruns that, you're going to be fine. So it's constantly looking to grow and find ways that we can do better and move with the industry,
mm,
um, which is the key across all businesses we own.
100%. And with that point of the costs being a bit of a shock, do you find, is there some sort of like economies of scale? So let's say you've got five facilities, or hopefully five coming up. Um, will some of those costs spread across all five gyms, like for example, music licenses or stuff, or is it say an ever increasing fee per gym?
Yeah, so if I just take Revamp here and just
Hmm.
and not use Live Fit Gym as an example, because that's the large open gym. If I just use Revamp, yeah, of course you do, especially software costs,
Hmm.
right? Like all of our software costs can be spread across every site we own,
Nice.
CRM costs, those kind of things. But if you're going to certainly build a multi-locational business, you need to treat each one as its own profit center,
Yep.
which is so important.
Mm,
So, each one is a separate business in of itself. Yes, you can cross-pollinate costs, and we've done that loads, especially at the beginning of these businesses. At the start, Hadley gave money to Halstead for loads of equipment. We bought equipment through Hadley because it was already VAT registered, so it just made sense. And you can help each other out. Each location, you think of them as friends. They can just give some money to one and give it back later.
mm,
Uh, and that works quite well. And that's why really the best way to make loads of money in this industry with fitness studios is to have loads. It's not to have one or even two.
mm,
Um, you need to be able to scale loads to make proper money and to be able to sell a business for a lot of money in the future.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think I was watching a video of, I think it was Alex Hormozy the other day, talking about a very similar thing where he was saying, you've got the costs of location one, and then you bolt on number two, but you keep the costs relatively similar, but you've added this new profit center, and you just keep tacking that on top. Um, so
Yeah, but just one quick story about Alex
yeah, go
Hormozy. I
on.
was coached by him in 2019.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like he wasn't even. I mean, he is obviously just a grade one. Like the guy is like phenomenal,
Mm,
incredible brain, incredible tactical brain. But yeah, I was coached by him in 2019 on Zoom calls, just like me and you right here. And he wasn't anyway. He didn't. No one knew who he was. He still owned Gym Launch. That's quite early at that time as well.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, even then, he was an incredible guy to listen to. So I'm
Mm.
not surprised at what he's become. That's for sure.
It's yeah, he seems to be on like an exponential upward trend, doesn't he? He's just getting more and more popular. But I think, obviously the information he puts out is, I think it's good to a point, but obviously it's very Americanized, which obviously is understandable.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so obviously you said about the costs were something you weren't aware of going into this, and then you also said about staffing being the biggest problem really that you face from like an operations point of view. But was there anything else that nobody warned you about that you wish you'd had some sort of pre-warning of?
How definitely one thing, well, two things, two big things, right? Number one is it's especially in an open gym setting, and this is why I prefer the small group boutique setting. It is impossible to build community.
Mm-hmm.
Impossible. We tried loads of things at the start of that business, none of which we've managed to hang on to.
Yeah.
So you are gonna walk into your gym and not know, especially with a big gym like that, not know who anyone is.
Yeah.
So it's really impossible to be able to build that. Now we've tried to build aspects of that in the last 6 months, which are going to do a better job.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which isn't about knowing everyone's name. So that's number one thing. You can't be all things to all people, and you'll never, ever, ever please everyone, right? So know that from number one thing. Doesn't matter what you do. Cure cancer, people are going to hate you for it, right? So that's one. Number two is just from a cost perspective, gym equipment breaks all the time.
Mm.
Like the cost of just A, the cost of gym equipment is obscene, but B, when you buy it, it's constantly breaks just because of
Mm.
usage. So you need to make sure whenever you're building a projection P&L at the start of any gym you're about to launch, put like hefty amount in there for gym maintenance.
Yeah.
Because every single day, like I get emails of stuff that's breaking, and the team are fixing stuff all the time. It's just constant. So you need to make sure you keep some dry powder to be able to replace these things,
100%.
because otherwise your members get very, very grumpy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So they're the two biggest things.
And that, to be fair, I'd never even thought about kind of like a maintenance budget for equipment. I thought about maintenance for the general facilities and stuff, but yeah,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. So, my
You
next
both.
question.
Yes.
Did you ever have a moment, and I'm sure you have because you're a serial entrepreneur, so this is inevitable, but did you ever have a moment where you thought this was a mistake? What am I doing? Like a moment of panic?
Most weeks. Most weeks. I like running a business is, one day you feel like you're Elon Musk and you feel like you're on top of the world. The next day you'll be lying on the floor looking at the ceiling going, what am I doing? I think Elon put it well once where he said it's like standing, what did he say? It's like standing on razors and just staring into the abyss. And I think that's true. And like to run a business, 90% of your day, 90% of running a business is just dealing with shit.
Yeah.
And then 10%, that 10% just makes it worth it,
Mm.
And I think that's really important for anyone to know before jumping into a gym or a business.
Mm.
You're going to have members cancel memberships. Like people are like, you're going to cancel. That's crazy. Like it's going to happen no matter how well loved your gym is.
Mm.
You're going to have members refuse to pay notice periods, and fall into debt with you. And you need to understand and have processes for dealing with these things and never get emotional.
Mm.
Because if you get emotional, you're never going to last very long. So instead of just replace that emotion with just a really rock solid process that you follow every single time, you're
Mm.
going to have people that leave like 0-star reviews because that's what humans do when they get grumpy. And they feel hard done by, even though they haven't. They will try and attack you in some way that they think is going to hurt you, and that's okay too. Like
Yeah.
it's just having a real good understanding that it's okay, it's fine. I will wake up tomorrow and I'll just do my job again.
Exactly.
Um, that's a big thing for any person that's diving into a gym. Take the emotional out of it and just build great systems and processes.
And do you think that has that kind of, I guess you'd call it armor that you've got with that? Do you think that has come from your experience as a business owner? Because I know, for example, a lot of PTs, I had literally had a call about this week with one of my graduates called Niall, who said, I've just had my first bunch of cancellations. Like, do I need to add more value? Do I need to do this? Do I need to? And I was like, no, people are going to cancel. Like that's what happens. So do you think you've built that up over time? Like if it was your first business and your first gym, did you have that then, or is that something that's grown over time?
You should always be auditing your service, right? Obviously. So Niall should be auditing his service and going to find out what other people are doing in his field. But I think if you're the easiest way to not get emotional is to understand that you have a data-driven business. Business is about data and data
Mm.
only. So if you are tracking new members, if you are tracking churn, if you are tracking what your lifetime value looks like of a customer, what your, CAC is if you're running ads and all these things,
Mhm.
you you quite quickly get unemotional
Mhm.
because you have benchmarks of what that data should look like. And if you're over those benchmarks, it's not about whether someone's cancelled. It's still about, well, my churn is still under 6%,
Yeah.
or whatever that benchmark is. So it very quickly, unfortunately, becomes about the numbers as opposed to the people and the individuals.
Mm.
So any business owner about to launch a gym, I would get obsessed with data from day one, because it takes a lot of the emotion out of it straight away anyway.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and I think I see a lot of personal trainers that resist when they go to open a gym. They resist that element of it's now about data rather than people because they're so people focused that that's all they know. So they kind of see it as impersonal or that sort of thing. And
And and that's by the way, that's the brilliant thing about a lot of personal trainers.
mm,
It's fantastic that they're so service driven, and they're great at building relationships. That unfortunately doesn't often build businesses past just being by themselves.
yeah, yeah.
So you have to add loads of arms on and skills onto that.
Mm,
Um, but start with that. That's what I started with. I started with being great with people, and unfortunately, I was never going to be a really long-term PT because I like going for a beer with a lot of my clients after sessions, and that was never going to make them change. Um, but that's what we were good at the start, and you just layer skills over the top,
mm.
um, as quickly as you can.
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. So if we were looking at a PT now, and they said, right, I want to open a facility, I want to open a boutique kind of studio slash gym. How much would you recommend they put? Obviously, this is completely variable, and you can't give a concrete figure, but how much, as an estimate, would you say to put aside in terms of money for opening the facility?
I know guys that have opened the facility under 10 grand,
Wow.
but have failed because
Wow.
ultimately humans like going to somewhere quite nice.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really want to go to somewhere shoddy, especially you've got a personal trainer. They don't like going to a dark, dingy place. Look, the rent is 600 quid, and look, the owner can does most of the sessions themselves. That's quite rare.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, just for some numbers, if you'd like them, I mean, Hadley, we spent 48 grand in opening that location.
Nice.
Housestead, we spent around 32, less build out.
Mm-hmm.
We've done cost figures for the other three we're opening. So, one of them will be around the same as Housestead, and the other one will be slightly higher, around 40, and
Okay.
then one's going to be about 66. So, like a real ray of figures there to open these locations and to open your gym, your small group personal training facility. Those costs involve gym equipment, obviously. Um, those costs are the build out, so the flooring, the aircon you got to put in, the lighting, the security system. We have cameras, alarms, and music system put into every single one of our studios.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then from a P&L perspective, you've got to look at how much money you're going to lose in the first year, and
Yeah.
you need to be able to cover that cost within your build out,
Mm-hmm.
within the initial capital you put into the launch. So, if one of our studios will lose, on our cash flow, it tells us we're going to lose 24K in the first 6 months. We need to ensure that we have 24K funded in the bank from month one,
Mm-hmm.
really. So that's included in the build out costs that I've explained to you with
Okay.
with our studios.
And so, is there anything that you spent quite a lot of money on, especially with the first couple of gyms, that you now look back and go, do you know what? That was completely non-essential.
Yeah, loads. Well, the first Hadley gym we bought black box across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Black box, incredible brand by the way, and really high quality gym equipment.
Mm.
The truth is, your members have no idea what black box is, and they have no idea what mirror fit is.
Yeah.
They don't know,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that was an ego play across the board. But now we love, in terms of equipment, if anyone's interested, we love Wolverson. Um, we buy black box stuff still, just because they're great. We buy some mirror fit stuff. It just depends
Mm,
um on the business. Rival Strength, some good stuff too.
mm,
But so that's it from equipment standpoint. We spent like 8 grand on scales
wow.
at each location. So 8 grand in Hadley, 8 grand in Houston. Um, completely, I, d- I would never say a waste of money because it adds to our sales process. It also adds to the experience for the member. But
Mm,
now with tech improving, like you can get the same type of scales that give you the same data and is accurate for a couple of hundred quid now.
yeah.
But that wasn't the case 3 years ago. Like I mean, just one brand, Hume Health,
Mhm.
Hume, really upcoming brand, American brand, I think, but great scale set across the board and product set, frankly, an ecosystem they're building. But
Mm,
like you can get like the same data for a few hundred quid now. So we won't make those same mistakes again. But they were big purchases that we had from day one. Also, like from day one of every single studio we've launched, we had a full team from day one.
yeah.
So I don't take any sessions from a day-to-day basis now in either studio. Um, we have a studio manager and we have a team of coaches under that studio manager. So, again, factoring in those costs to our P&L right at the beginning of each launch.
It makes a lot of sense. And do you ever miss running sessions? Do you ever like want to dip in one day and then jump out again?
Um, yes and no. I definitely have days where I go, God, do you know what? I'll take today. Or I'll go in today. I think it's good as an owner, especially Hadley being our number one. Everyone,
Mm,
a lot of people know myself. That's where I started a personal training business all those years ago. So it's good to show your face a few
yeah.
times a week if you can. Definitely. We obviously show our face at all of our events that we run as well, our social events, and we have a lot of fun. Um, we can talk about those in a bit, but
Mhm.
it's certainly I don't miss it, but every now and again I quite enjoy it still.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think because I've spoken to a few PTs that get a bit scared of jumping fully into the operations side and kind of losing their love for what they were doing. But I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I think, like you say, showing your face and being the face of the brand to an extent is obviously a good thing.
I,
Um,
I, I also just on that point, Josh,
mhm,
um, we always used to talk about it as zone of genius, right? So you got to understand what your zone of genius is. Mine was never coaching,
mm,
right? I am a bang average coach, right? And I have no interest in being a phenomenal one.
mhm,
I love business and I love doing deals and I love sales. That these things are what I love. So that's my zone of genius. So it was always made sense for me to step away from coaching because frankly I could find people that were much better than me.
yeah,
Whereas a lot of coaches, they're fantastic coaches, but really bang average business owners and not great operations, sales, or marketing or any of that stuff. So maybe their zone of genius is they shouldn't be thinking, how do I step away from all of these sessions? They should probably be thinking, how can I take all of these sessions and who can I hire to be the great person at operations, sales, and all of that
mm,
stuff, right?
yeah,
It's
100%.
very often they just assume that it should be done the other way around
Mhm,
when it shouldn't. Frankly, sometimes it's easier to just be a great coach instead of trying to learn all of those skills that take years and years and years to be able to get someone else who's going to do a coaching job not as well as you.
yeah,
So always evaluate and have an honest conversation with yourself about like zone of genius. What should I be doing? How can I use myself and my skill set to best drive this business
mm,
forward? Because a lot of people just assume they should just jump into operations and come out of sessions when it isn't always the best play.
yeah. And that again makes a lot of sense, and that ties in quite nicely with the next question. What mistakes? Because obviously, I know yourself and your brother are still working actively with studio owners and helping them grow their businesses. And what mistakes do you see happen kind of again and again with studio owners?
Moving to two locations too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I never think as an owner you should move to two locations until you are if you are fully out of coaching or if you've hired that person either way,
Mm-hmm.
and your studio is full and validated.
Yeah.
So I definitely that and And the other thing is when people launch studios, jumping into studio, launching, building it out, and going right, everyone, we're here now.
Hmm.
Um, every studio, if you're good at marketing and you understand how to launch a studio, you should be full before the time you open.
Yeah.
So that both studio launches we've been completely full before the first session.
Wow.
And that should be the goal for any studio launch, right? Because you can use that capital again to build a full team from day one, so you don't actually have to jump in there anyway. So as soon as you go, right, I'm open, you have no members and you start recruiting with people normally just go organic content, then you're already behind because then that's how people fall into that trap of never getting out of coaching, even if they want to.
Yeah, because obviously, I guess the big thing is they're accruing, finances coming out of the business from day one. So in
Hmm.
reality, you want that pre-launch to kind of fill you up so that you're effectively
Yeah, you're
cash
already
cash
behind.
rich. Yeah.
Yeah, you're already behind. Like your pre-launch should be really bringing in anywhere between 18 and 25K before you start a first session.
Okay.
Because then straight away you've got 4 months of cash to use across building teams, rent, and everything else. You
Okay.
know, that's why we work really hard in negotiating rent-free periods for a lot of these locations.
Mm.
You know, we'd happily sign a longer deal for a more rent-free at the beginning of a studio launch.
And is there, so if we stay with the kind of pre-launch question for now, two questions. What does your kind of pre-launch, without giving away too much, obviously, what does your pre-launch strategy look like? And then the second question related to what you just said is, do you go for a certain amount of rent-free period? Like, do you have like a standard ask, or does it vary?
Yeah. What does the pre-launch look like? So in the past, our pre-launches have been around 12 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So we use Facebook groups organic,
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, Facebook organic, and ads to run pre-launch. Within the past we've built waiting lists. So we've built a waiting list with those three components I've just spoke about there to as large as possible, normally between 600 and 700 people. And then we'll have like we use the Glastonbury play. So we'll then send out an email before we send out the email to people to book consultations with us. We'll send out an email saying, right, hey, who wants early bird launch?
Mm-hmm.
So they can then put themselves into a separate list, which is the early launch. So they'll get an email an hour before the whole waiting list gets their email to book a
Nice.
consultation. So normally we'd have between 40 and 50 consults booked from that 7 a.m. email, and then the email will go to the rest of the list. So for us, like we've had our sales close rate is too high.
Mm-hmm.
So if Hormozy was here, for example, he would be saying like our front end cost to our challenge, this is what everyone starts in our world, it should be way higher, right?
Mm.
So, which funny enough, we're about to make that change. Um, but so like our close rate, 80 to 90%. Now, with that close rate for no shows, if we have 70 people come into the studio from day one, if you think about no shows and cancellations, you'd probably need, between 150 and 170 consultations booked.
Nice.
So we'd have to try and hit that before we start the consultation process before we launch.
Okay.
So yeah, we always spent £20 a day on ads to launch these locations, just to consultations. The really cool thing about building scale is that you can then use another location's revenue across another launch.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to launch all these locations with £100 a day in ad spend, and that's not a problem for us at all, which is
Nice.
great. So the goal is to launch even faster and even bigger across the
Nice.
next three. Yeah. But
That's
that's that question. And what was the other one? Sorry, Josh.
when you go in to negotiate a new venue, do you have like a set kind of time frame that you would like to have rent free, or do you just kind of go based on the discussion, individual discussion?
Yeah, individual discussion. So I always push for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Rarely does a landlord give you that. Normally we can do a deal at three quite easily.
Yeah.
Some landlords are funny, but normally we can do a deal at three quite easily. So for the next three, we've agreed 4-3-3
Okay.
across those. Um, which is quite cool. But that's kind of making us think about how can we condense the launch.
Hmm.
So the next launch is going to be 6 weeks instead of 12.
Okay.
And obviously we can go faster because of the updated ad spend, number one. And we can condense. So it's all built out like methodically.
Hmm.
With our coaching, we used to give that to our guys that were launching. So that whole launch plan, we used to just give it away
Wow.
to those guys, and we used to help them launch studios. FYI, we haven't taken on new clients now for like 2 years because we're not really focusing on that side. But anyone that wants to ask me a question can, and I'll just give you the answer. Any of your audience, so don't worry about that. But it's um, it's definitely it's something that really needs to be thought about.
Mm.
So we're starting to build it, not just like how can we run organic and paid ad spend, and how can we build a list, but how can we bring other people into the launch?
Hmm.
So things like can we rent a high street space just for a few months where we can build attention about our studio there? You know,
Mm.
which our studio might be in a different location. Can we bring local influencers into our launch? So bring them in to then post content about Revamp's new launch, blah blah blah. So it's trying to take it from all angles and
Hmm.
think about how can you build that list to as much as possible for when you actually put out the email saying book a consultation.
It makes a lot of sense. And just to clarify, because I know what personal training business owners are like, and it's like the shiny object syndrome, and they're trying to do everything all the time. Just to clarify, for your launch, the baseline is the Facebook, is the ads, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's all the
yeah,
content and the ads, and
yeah.
then things like the influencers. That's just on top, just to get the extra couple of
That's the
percent.
shiny stuff. Yeah, that's the stuff that we've never done before, but we'll do next. And you can only do that if you have a team. Very, very difficult to do all of what I've just spoke about without a team.
Yeah.
Like you can't be in a million places at once. So yeah, really important. I mean, just for now, I think if you're not running ads as a gym, it's very, very difficult to scale anything
Mm,
because your churn will just outrun your new members.
yeah.
So you'll just see your gym gradually decline, unless you have some magic power I haven't heard about. So over time, it will be very, very difficult to scale and grow. So that's the biggest thing. But from our standpoint, yeah, mostly in our launches, all organic locally and Facebook ad spend to get as many people on the list to then book as many people in consultation.
Makes a lot of sense, man. So moving away from kind of the operation side now and more to the ownership side, how stressful is the responsibility that you have as an owner?
Um, I have a responsibility to my team, to my members. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I would definitely getting my kids out the door to school was more stressful than running a business. I will say that this morning.
Preach.
Yeah, but not hugely stressful. I don't feel it's hugely stressful, but that's because we have so much incredible infrastructure and
Mhm.
we have a great team, We have great studio managers running the business. We have a great CFO. The CMO, my brother, is incredible. So everyone in the business is working to what they're really, really good at.
Mm.
And I think stress comes from overwhelm,
Yeah.
and we're never overwhelmed, right? Because we know what we're doing I'm working on sales. I know what I'm doing here. I know all of the bits that I should be doing to make sales work in this business. My brother is working on marketing. He understands all of the bits in the business to be able to grow and get better. We know what our plan is. Our finances worked out over here. We know what that plan is. So like from a scales perspective, I would be really, really stressed if we go to 5 locations and we don't have anyone who is special in operations,
Yeah.
right? That would be quite stressful because that would be me jumping into that role and maybe not doing a great job,
Mhm.
right? Because I have a lot to balance. So at that point, it'll be like, right, how can we get someone into that operations role? We have someone internally whose magic power is operations,
Mhm.
which is amazing. So they will then go into that role, certainly in the near term, and do a great job.
Mhm.
And they'll start to grow into that role, which is great. So if you have people in the right places, and if you're communicating with those people all the time, and if you have a great plan for the future of your business, and you
Mhm.
understand what levers you can pull to make things better, stress isn't too much.
So that leads quite nicely into my next question. Have you ever struggled balancing business ownership with family life?
Um, Good question. My whole goal in running any business is to ensure that I can take the kids to school 50% of the time.
Hmm.
I can pick them up 50% of the time, and I can be at home at least 4 nights a week for dinner, bath time.
Yeah.
Uh, I think if you can have that mindset when you're building a business, you can make the business work regardless.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't fall for this excuse of I'm building something I shouldn't be there, especially in the early days of your children's lives.
Yeah.
There's a very well-known guy in the UK, he's quite high up in the industry. I won't mention names, but he said at a seminar once, my kids won't really see me, but when they're 15, they're going to have everything laid out for them. And I think that is just such um, a poisonous point of view to have.
Yeah.
I never think that should be spread across any new entrepreneur. It can all be done, and if you're not seeing your kids or your family or your wife or your spouse, whatever, enough in those early days, you need better systems and you need better
Hmm.
people. Um, so that's the way I think about it, you know.
Yeah.
Like that's why people whose superpower isn't coaching should ensure they get a team as quickly as possible in their gyms,
Mm.
you know. So you can have some freedom and do what you want to do.
Yeah.
There's a really real possibility in my life now that we can go with schooling. It's very difficult, Josh, but we can go to Asia for 4 months and travel around with the kids. Like
Hmm.
that could be done
Yeah.
now, and that's not something I would have said 2 years ago. But as you build teams and you have great people in places that they should be, it becomes much easier.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I think it's life's about priorities, and doing the right thing.
Mm.
And I think the right thing is ensuring that you can have loads of time for your family and the things that are important in life. As humans always sacrifice the important for the urgent,
Yeah.
and that's just bad news.
It really is.
That's bad news. Like we have so many urgent things in our lives that we should sacrifice the really important things
Mhm.
that matter to us, and if you do that, you need to change things.
100%. And I would, because obviously I've got kids as well, and I would argue that whoever that person was that said, "Oh, I'm not going to see them until they're 15." I'm not quoting verbatim there, but the whole point of us doing this is to have freedom and to, like, for me, the whole point of being self-employed for the past 17 years has been to build everything around my kids. So I've been to every sports day, I've been to every parents' evening, I've been to everything. And that is the entire reason. And I'm the opposite. I'm like, when they're 15, then we can really crack on
Yeah,
if I
yeah,
need to.
and that's the right way to be. I think that's the right way to be. I mean, people are different, right?
True.
People are different, but for me, um, those are the basics. Everything else is laid on top of that.
Yeah, agreed. It is mental. Like, I look at some people. There's a lot of people on Instagram at the moment. There's that one guy. Again, I won't name him, but he's a massive one in America. He'll never see this podcast, but just in case. Um, and he says, I would only spend 20 minutes a day with my kids because that's all they need. And I'm like, what are you what are you talking about, man?
But it's probably come from something that he's seen online.
Probably.
Like God, this is a whole new topic and goes into um, I mean, got that Louis Theroux
Yes.
documentary on Netflix the other day. Like all of that stuff, like, it's scary. It's a scary world.
Yeah.
And young people and young entrepreneurs, people getting into it, coming out of uni, they're impressionable, and a lot of the time, all they really, really want is to be rich.
Yeah.
And that's not the right. Build something which is credible. Build something which is important in people's lives and that makes a big difference and that can have an impact on people. And if you can do that, you'll be rich anyway as a byproduct. You know.
Exactly.
So yeah, like kids, family first all the time. Um, Rarely, I don't think anything. Of course, like me and my wife will have an argument here and there about, oh, you're not here for that. You should be home earlier, blah blah blah. And that's happened over the years. Of course, it has.
Yeah.
But certainly over the last 2 or 3 years, my kids are quite young. The balance is perfect, and I'll continue to make sure it is that way.
That's
It can't be any worse than it is now. So
yeah.
it's great. It's great. I'm in a good place with the balance.
And that is very, very refreshing to hear from an entrepreneur. Like it's not not very often that you hear that. And so with that in mind, behind the scenes, what does a normal week actually look like for you as a father, as an entrepreneur, like all bundled together? What does a normal week look like?
Changes day to day. I mean, the thing about my role is because I'm more sales based
Mm-hmm.
in at Revamp, loads of people have access to my diary,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whereas my brother, who is a brilliant marketer, he is like he can lie in his pants with his laptop on his lap and build great stuff. So, I am standing in studio manager at the moment in Hadley.
Mm-hmm.
At our Hadley location, I don't take any sessions from week to week, but I will see clients for certain things that mean like the 15-minute meetings at the studio, and which is quite enjoyable. So Monday's normally my catch up with studio managers day, certainly in the morning. I still take sales consults in the business because that's my superpower. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll take sales from day to day when we are recruiting. Right now we're not 'cause we're full. Um, I normally I'll work between 9 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
So either side, I'll be taking the kids to school or to gymnastics. I'll have a exec meeting each week. I'll have daily meetings with Jake, who's the business partner, as I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Building things, planning things. We have certain priorities in different months. If we're running acquisition, we'll be looking at ads,
Mm-hmm.
looking at that data. Um, I do a range of things, but if you're going to say what is the one thing I really focus on from day to day, it's sales consultations.
Mm-hmm.
When we're acquiring new clients.
Nice.
So and if you want to go past that, I try and get to like 6, half 6, put the kids to bed, do the whole bath and shower routine, and then I will try my best to not do any more work.
Yeah.
And I'll go lay and watch right now, which is At Home with the Furies, which makes me absolutely die. Um, so I'll go try and just chill. Some days, like right now, we're going for a huge AI resurgence in our business, so it's just so fun to build stuff, and that's kind of my release at the
Mm-hmm.
moment. So I'll do that every now and again, and me and Claude will just hang out for like 4 hours until it tells me literally to go to bed. Um, but yeah, that's kind of my day to day. Very hard to say this is what I do every day because it's not. I I'll do loads of things each day, which
Mate,
makes it fun and different.
exactly. And that, yeah, I think one thing you've just said there as well, I'd like to do another chat at some point about using AI for gym ownership and how to kind of use that hand in hand. So my final kind of two questions, really, but we'll do one at a time. For the PTs that are listening to this, that are still in the operator phase of their business, so they're still delivering sessions, but they dream of owning their own studio. What advice would you give? What would be the first kind of steps that they need to take to achieving that dream?
Two things need to be attacked properly. So mindset, number one thing.
Mm-hmm.
They need to understand what mindset they need to adopt to become a really great owner because 99% of them won't have that now.
Yeah.
Um, I think the biggest thing that you could be doing right now as a PT before you open a studio is going to get educated.
Mm-hmm.
So go and pay for coaching. Go and pay to learn skills, things that you're going to need in your business. Like we, Jake and I have spent easily north of £50,000 on coaching over the last 6 years.
Wow.
Um, so like that's the biggest thing for us, and so many skills that we learn in with those coaches, we have adopted now into the business in some way. So
Mhm.
even as little as like we were with a Facebook group coach about 6 years ago, great guy. And then we adopted Facebook groups, obviously as a lead strategy in launch, but also as a community strategy with our members
Mhm.
in each location. So we just used all that we learned about that and just adopted it into those strategies, and it was like game changing for us. And that's just a
Mm.
little snippet. So go and learn, go get coached. Um, use AI to get educated in mainly marketing because gyms are mainly marketing businesses, guys. They are not just about coaching clients. The biggest thing you need to be great at is you need to be a great marketer. And I hear loads of incredible coaches who own studios who get wound up about, that guy's nowhere near as good as coach as me, but he's got way more clients than me. That's because he's a better marketer.
Yeah.
That is the number one thing. So learn to be a better marketer. That's certainly the biggest thing. Anyone aspiring to own a gym, go learn from others as quickly as you can. What's Hormozy call it? Pays down ignorance tax. That's true.
Mm.
You're gonna lose a lot less money
Yeah. Very
for
true.
sure.
So, final question before we start wrapping up. What's next for you in the business? You've said about your other venues, but what's the big picture? What's next?
Um, New studios. So we're certainly the goal would be to have 5 studios by the end of this year, as I mentioned.
Hmm.
Um, We want to hire a COO to take care of operations, a head of operations across the business to take care of those locations who will directly report to me. Um, those are the near term things. I mean, we can go back to AI in another conversation because it's such a huge topic, but we're building some incredible things in the business right now, which is going to negate the need for us to have CRMs. It's going to negate the need for us to have any kind of software cost across the business. So we're going to wipe out a shit ton of money there with our own custom back end and front end app for members.
Mm.
So that's probably 3-4 weeks away from release for
Okay.
us. So for our third location, we'll have everything custom set up with our own branding. So that's really exciting. And 6 months ago that wouldn't have even been possible. So
Yeah.
adopting that could be really cool. We're building AI agents across the business to take care of all customer service across all locations. Um, to just work in our WhatsApp groups so they
Mm.
can go fix stuff. Um, I'd being open to change is pretty cool. But I think when you're building five, the goal is to build as many locations as possible with a really lean, great team
Hmm.
so we don't have any wastage. So that means that we're going to have, a studio manager, 2 to 3 coaches per location, a COO looking after those studio managers, and then reporting to us. So how can we do that with as little headcount as possible?
Mm.
So we're adopting all those features into our business. So yeah, 5 locations in the near term. Um, New hire there, and bringing AI into the business even more than we do now.
And
That's what comes next.
if you don't mind me asking, long term, is your goal to exit the business and sell it in the future?
One day, yeah, most likely. Um, Amazing book, Build to Sell.
Yeah.
A great book if anyone wants to read that. And mainly about building systems and processes in a business to make it so mouth-watering for anyone coming in. So yeah, whether one day, I mean, you are talking decades away here.
Mm.
We're really, really happy with what we're doing, and we continue to build things. But one day, whether that means a full sell of the business of the holding company, or that means a location by location sale gradually, whatever that means, that'll be fun in the future to do.
Mm.
So yeah, like you've got to build to be able to do that. So that's our main goal right now. We can we have between 80 and 100 members per location.
Wow.
So our coaches, the incredible teams we have at each one, continue to make a huge impact on the lives of those guys, and we always we've adopted a bit of a mindset across our business that it's like whatever most studios are doing, we're going to just go the complete opposite way,
Hmm.
right? So, um, High Rocks, for example, like we're not going near it with a barge pole, right? Like instead of doing a High Rocks event, we go to the pub with all of our members and have a great time. Like instead of being a transformation gym, for example, and posting before and afters online, we post stories about
Mm.
our members, and you could go to our Instagram Revamp Gym and look at those amazing stories. So we could wrap it up on, yes, this person has lost loads of weight, done an incredible job, but really here's why. We're not
Mm.
going to post a before and after because we'd never want to be seen as a transformational gym, you know.
Makes
Instead
sense.
of working with the 30-year-old influencer who really has an LTV of like 2 months,
Mm.
we're going to work with the 50-plus-year-old woman who has never liked being in a gym, who hates that environment, who feels anxious in that environment. We're going to look after that person,
Mm.
right? So they're the core principles that we continue to build studios with.
Makes a lot of sense. I love it. It's yeah, I think there's a lot of everything that you say, I agree with in kind of like an ethical, moral. Like I just it all makes sense to me massively. Like, I feel like you're doing this the right way rather than just trying to get as many people in, make as much money as possible in the shortest time frame. It feels like you're really trying to build something that matters both to you and to the people in your business, which I really appreciate. But that was my they're all my questions for now. I want to say thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. I know you're busy.
No,
Uh,
man, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Am I your first guest?
yes, so this is the first recording. So
It's
this will go
exciting.
out probably. I think I'll put this out on Monday. I've This is a new concept for me. Like I used to have the UK PTs podcast, and it's something I love. I love having these conversations. So I've got the first 10 booked, and I'm just going to keep rolling them out, and just there's no real agenda with it. It's just getting good people in front of my audience and having great conversations like this, really. So I thank you again for your time. If people wanted to get in touch with you for advice or just to see, keep an eye on what you're doing, where would be the best places for them to go?
Yeah, I mean, you can go see Revamp stuff if you want. So Revamp Gym on Instagram, revampgym.com is the website. If you want to get in touch with me directly, LinkedIn, Jack Cardy, or Facebook, Jack Cardy, best place. I'm private on Instagram, so you can go to those places and hit me up, and I'll be happy to help.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. And like I say, I'll be in touch to book another call about AI for gym owners.
Yeah, it's going to change a lot by then. That's going to be fun.
100%.
Yeah.